Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Grab something warm and settle in. This one is going to stay with you. Kang Seo-jin had been the most feared man in Seoul for 11 years. He had built the Kang Syndicate from 3 broken gambling dens in Mapo-gu into a network that touched shipping, real estate, private security, and the kind of political donations that never appeared in any ledger. He wore Italian suits cut to his shoulders. He spoke in a low, even voice that never needed to rise. He gave orders once. Men older than him flinched when he walked into a room. Women did not flinch. They smiled. They angled themselves toward him. They wore dresses chosen carefully for an evening they had rehearsed in their minds for weeks. It never worked. His aide, Park Dong-soo, had watched 17 such attempts in the past 2 years alone. A senator's daughter, a chaebol heiress from Busan, a French-Korean model whose face was on the side of 3 buildings in Gangnam. Each one was escorted in, offered the best seat at the table, given the full attention of Seo-jin's staff, and then dismissed within the hour with polite, final words and a car arranged home. Dong-soo kept a private tally, not because he was cruel, but because he was observant. "You felt nothing?" Dong-soo asked once, after the model had gone. "I felt that she was performing," Seo-jin said. "I can always feel when someone is performing." He set down his glass and walked to the window. The city blinked below him. He said nothing else. The house in Yongsan-gu was not where Seo-jin conducted business. It was where he slept, which he did little of. The household staff had been vetted, rotated, and replaced so many times over the years that most of them treated the residence like a very beautiful, very cold museum. The new cleaning rotation had started on a Tuesday. Seo-jin barely registered it. New faces appeared in his peripheral vision sometimes. He did not learn their names unless a reason emerged. The reason emerged on a Wednesday evening, at 9:10, when he stepped into the east corridor on his way to the study. He stopped. There was a voice. It was coming from the laundry room at the end of the hall. The door cracked open, warm light leaking out. A woman's voice. She was not singing for anyone. She was singing the way a person sings when they believe they are completely alone. An old ballad, something from the 70s, one his mother had played on the radio in their tiny apartment in Sinchon when he was 7 years old and the world was very different. He stood in the corridor for a full minute. He did not move. The song did not stop. It continued without embellishment, without performance. Just a voice and the words and the soft hum of the dryer turning. He turned and went back toward his bedroom instead of the study. He did not sleep. In the morning, he asked Dong-soo for the staff roster. "The cleaning rotation," he said. "Who is new?" Dong-soo, careful as always, did not smile. He pulled up the file on his tablet. 2 from the agency. 1 is a university student, male, works evenings. The other, he paused, Han Mirai, 29, listed as available for full residential assignments. That one. "Should I run a background? Already done?" "Yes." "And?" Dong-soo hesitated a single beat. "Clean record. Grew up in Incheon. Moved to Seoul 5 years ago. Lives in Mapo. She has another pause. A child. A daughter. Age 4. Seo-jin looked out the window. "Single mother?" "Yes." He said nothing for a moment. "Leave the file." He had not planned to speak to her. He told himself that. He was specific about it, the way he was specific about everything. He had heard a voice. It reminded him of something gone. That was all. Then he saw her in the kitchen doorway on Thursday morning, checking her roster against the supply closet list, and he understood that he had been telling himself something untrue. She was not the most beautiful woman who had ever come through his door. She was simply real in a way that the others had not been. No performance, no angled awareness of the room. She was reading a piece of paper and frowning slightly because something on the list did not add up, and she was entirely, completely herself. She looked up and saw him. She did not flinch or smile. She said, "Good morning," the way you say it to a person you have just noticed, not to an audience. He said, "Good morning." She looked back at her list. He went and made his own coffee, which he had not done in 4 years, because the kitchen was in that direction, and he had no better reason he was willing to admit. It became a quiet pattern. Not anything declared. Not anything formal. He would be in a room, and she would be working in it, and occasionally one of them would say a thing. A question about where the extra filters were kept. An observation about the rain, which had been unreasonable all of November. Once she made a sound of frustration at a cabinet latch that had been broken for months. "I've asked twice," she said, to no one in particular. "It just—" She made a small gesture with her hand. He fixed it that afternoon. He found a screwdriver and fixed it himself while she was on the other side of the house. He did not tell her he had done it. She noticed, of course. And she did not make a production of it. She tested the latch once, quietly, and went on with her work. That, somehow, was the thing that cracked something loose in him. The Kang family's formal dinner in mid-November was unavoidable. Elder Kang, Seo-jin's granduncle, held it every year as a ritual assessment of the family's direction. This year's direction, as far as Elder Kang was concerned, was that Seo-jin needed to marry. The woman presented at dinner was Oh Ye-rin. She was 26. Her family ran a shipping concern out of Incheon. The arrangement had been discussed at the senior level for 6 months. Ye-rin was lovely and composed, and had clearly been coached on which things to say. She said them. Seo-jin sat across from her and felt nothing except a faint, specific tiredness. "You are not interested," Elder Kang said bluntly, afterward, when Ye-rin had been escorted out to wait. "I am not." "Then be more specific. What would interest you? You have seen 50 suitable women." Seo-jin looked at his glass. "I don't know," he said, which was almost a lie. "You are going to die alone in that big house," Elder Kang said, "with your phone and your enemies." "I know." "That is not a life, Seo-jin." "I know, uncle." The old man studied him. He had been studying Seo-jin since the boy was 12, and already building walls. "Someone has already gotten in," Elder Kang said. "You just won't say it." Seo-jin said nothing. That was its own kind of answer. He asked her one night if she would like coffee. Simple. Careful. He was already at the machine. She looked up from the corridor with the measured wariness of someone who has learned to identify when the rules of a situation are shifting. "I don't want to trouble you," she said. "I'm making it anyway." A pause. "Then yes," she said. "Thank you." They sat at the kitchen table for 20 minutes. It was the most ordinary 20 minutes Seo-jin had experienced in 11 years. She talked about her daughter, Leah. Short for Gia, she explained, but Leah was what stuck. 4 years old, obsessed with illustrated books about the ocean. "She wants to see a real whale," Mirai said. "I keep telling her the aquarium is a start. Has she been?" "Not yet." She wrapped both hands around the cup. "We're working up to it." He understood, from the careful way she said that money was a constant calculation in her life. He did not say that he could arrange it. He had learned something in these weeks about what she would accept. "She sounds singular," he said instead. Mirai smiled. It was brief and completely unguarded. "She is," she said. "She's the—" She stopped. Something moved through her expression. A thought she chose not to finish. "She's everything." He noticed the pause. He stored it without knowing why. The first threat arrived on a Friday. It was not aimed at Seo-jin. It was aimed at her. Dongsu brought the envelope to Seo-jin's desk at 7 in the morning, with the particular stillness he used when something was serious. Inside were 3 photographs. Mirai leaving the Mappo apartment. Mirai at the neighborhood market. Mirai walking with a small girl, a child with a round face and very large, curious eyes, toward a bus stop. There was a note, 4 words. "Send her away first." Dongsu said, "It came through our outer mail drop. Someone with access to our routing." "Internal? Or someone who bought the information?" "Oh, Ye-rin's family has the resources. They were not pleased by the dinner." Seo-jin held the photograph of the child. He did not speak for a long time. "How old is the girl?" he said finally. "We'd estimated 4 from the staff file." He set the photo down slowly. "Pull her full birth record." Dong-su was still. Seo-jin, her full record. Today. Dong-su returned in 2 hours. He set the document on the desk without a word. Seo-jin read it. Han Jia, born March 14th, 5 years ago. Mother, Han Mirai. Father listed, unknown. He did a count in his head. 5 years ago. He set the paper down. 5 years and 3 months ago, he had known a woman named Han Mirai in Incheon. She had been a junior coordinator at an event his organization had sponsored. They had talked for an evening. Really talked, the way he had not talked with anyone, about ordinary things, about music and what cities feel like at night. He had felt, briefly, like a different person. Then his enforcer at the time, a man named Choi, had told him she was a journalist. An informant. Feeding information to a rival. He had believed it. He had sent Choi to tell her to leave. Permanently. No appeal. He had not asked for her side. He had not thought about her again, because he was very practiced at not thinking about things. He now understood that Choi had lied. And he now understood that Mirai had left Incheon and moved to Seoul and raised a child alone and never said a word to anyone. He sat very still. The room felt different. He said quietly, "She never told me." Dong-su said from the doorway, "She may not have known how to reach you, or she didn't think you'd want to know, or she was afraid of what you'd do." Seo-jin said nothing. All 3 of those were true, and all 3 of them were his fault. He found her in the East Wing that afternoon, changing the window curtains. "Mirai-see?" he said. She turned. He was not sure what his face was doing. He tried to keep it controlled. He did not entirely succeed. "Can we speak?" he said. She looked at him with the calm, assessing intelligence he had noticed from the beginning. The intelligence he now understood had been watching him for weeks, deciding something. "Yes," she said. They went to the kitchen. She sat. He did not sit. "I know," he said. She did not pretend not to understand. She looked at her hands on the table. "You know," she said, not a question. "The photographs came today, from a threat. Someone is watching you. I had to know who." He stopped. He restarted. "I'm sorry. I'm telling this badly. I know about Gia." Still silence. "She's mine," he said. "Yes." One word, completely steady. "You never—" "I tried," she said. Her voice was even. "Twice. The first time a man I'd never seen told me I had 24 hours to leave Incheon, and that if I contacted anyone in the Kang organization, I would regret it. The second time I wrote a letter and tore it up because she was 2 months old and I was terrified, and I thought—" She stopped. "I thought she was safer if you didn't know." He sat down. "You were right," he said. "At the time, you were right." She looked up. "That's not what I expected you to say." "I know." "I don't want anything from you," she said, and her voice was still calm, but something underneath it was not. "I'm not here because I planned this. I needed the work, and this was the contract the agency gave me, and I didn't know whose house it was until my first day. I almost left." "Why didn't you?" A pause. "Because she would ask me someday," Mirai said, "and I wanted to be able to tell her I'd at least looked at you." He felt that land somewhere it would not stop hurting. "And?" he said. "And I didn't know what to do with what I found," she said quietly. He did not ask what she meant. He let it stay in the room. "About here, let's pause for a second. If this story is getting into your chest, if you felt that last scene, please hit the like button and leave a comment below. Tell me what you thought of Mirai staying, just to be able to give her daughter an answer someday. Subscribe so you don't miss the rest. Because what comes next is where this story becomes something else entirely." He moved Mirai and Leah to the Yongsan house that same evening. She resisted. "I'm not a threat to be managed," she said. The photographs had Leah in them. he said. That ended the resistance. Leah arrived at the house at 8 o'clock at night, wearing small yellow rain boots and carrying a picture book about blue whales. She walked into the entry hall of one of Seoul's most imposing private residences and looked up at the chandelier. "It's too bright," she said. Seo Jin looked down at her. She looked up at him with eyes that were, precisely, his eyes. The shape. The steadiness. "Are you the man my Uma works for?" she said. "Yes," he said. "Do you have books here?" He paused. "Some." "What kind?" "Business books, mostly." She considered this. "That's not very good," she said. He felt something move in his chest that he had no name for, because he had not felt it before. "No," he said. "It isn't." In the morning, he sent Dong-Soo to a bookstore in Itaewon with a specific list. Illustrated ocean books. The best ones available. Dong-Soo returned with a bag heavy enough to require 2 hands, and did not comment on any of it. When Leah came downstairs and found the books fanned across the kitchen table, she stood very still. Then she picked up the whale one and looked at Seo Jin. "Did you read them already?" she said. "No." "Okay," she said. "I'll tell you what they say." She climbed into a chair and opened to page 1 and began explaining the life cycle of the blue whale to Kang Seo Jin, the most feared man in Seoul, who sat across from her with his coffee and listened to every word. Mirai stood in the doorway. She watched. She pressed her fingers against the doorframe, holding herself very still. The threat from the O family escalated on Sunday. A man appeared outside the Mapo apartment, the old address, and questioned the neighbor about Mirai's new location. The neighbor, knowing nothing, said so. But the inquiry itself was a message. The O family was active, and they had reach. Dong-Soo flagged a second concern. Choi, the enforcer who had lied to Seo Jin 5 years ago and had since left the organization, had been seen meeting with Oh Yerin's elder brother twice in the past month. "He sold them the routing information," Dong-Soo said, "and the details about Mirai. He's been building a case that you've become unstable, that the organization needs new leadership. He's working toward a removal. Yes. Of me specifically, or of everything I've built?" "Both." Seo Jin was quiet. He thought about what he would have done with this information 11 months ago. He would have made a call. The problem would have become a different problem, far away, belonging to someone else. He thought about Leah at the kitchen table, explaining the migration patterns of whales. "I want Mirai and Leah moved again," he said. "Somewhere Choi's contacts don't know. I'll give you the address personally. Dong-Soo." He met his aide's eyes. "No violence. Whatever we do, nothing that can't be undone." Dong-Soo held his gaze. "That's different," he said. "I know," Seo Jin said. "Do it anyway." He told Mirai that evening. "You're moving again," he said. "I'm sorry. It'll be the last time." She looked at him steadily. "Who is it?" "Former associates, and a family who wanted an arrangement I refused." "Because of me?" He shook his head. "Because of me," he said. "I've made enemies across 20 years. You're in the middle of them because I was careless about keeping you separate." He stopped. "I was careless about everything regarding you." She was quiet. "What happens to them? The people threatening us?" He looked at her. "I'm going to handle it without making it worse than it is," he said. "That's new for me. I want you to know I'm aware of that." She looked at him for a long moment. "Leah asked me today if you were her appa," she said. The word moved through him. "What did you say?" "I said I'd answer her when I knew the right words." She looked away. "I still don't." "Tell her yes," he said. "If you're willing. Tell her yes." Silence. "You have to earn that," she said. "Not from me. From her." "I know." "It'll take time." "I know." "And Seo Jin," she used his name plainly for the first time. "If you ever give her an order instead of asking her a question, we're done." She's not one of your men. He said, I would never. And she heard in his voice that he meant it, which surprised her more than she expected. The confrontation happened on a Tuesday. Choi came to a meeting that had been arranged under a false premise, a reconciliation brokered through a middleman Choi still trusted. He arrived with 2 men. Seo Jin arrived alone, which told Choi he had made a miscalculation. They sat across a table in a private room in a restaurant in Junggu. Choi was 51. He had been with the Kang organization since Seo Jin's earliest days. He was not afraid of Seo Jin. He had decided not to be. You've changed, Choi said. That makes you weak. I've changed, Seo Jin agreed. The O family will. The O family, Seo Jin said, will receive documentation tomorrow morning of every conversation their son has had with you, including the proposal you made regarding me. They'll see it before breakfast. After that, Yerin's brother will be the family's primary legal problem, not me. Choi was still. You could have simply... I know what I could have simply done, Seo Jin said. I chose not to. He looked at the man directly. You lied to me about Han Mirai 5 years ago. I want to know why. Choi said nothing. Was it the Busan group? Did they pay you to separate me from anyone who might have made me? He paused. More human. Choi looked away. That was the answer. Leave Seoul, Seo Jin said. All the way out. I don't want to see this become something I regret. He stood. I'm done, Choi, with all of it. The organization is going to someone who wants it. The networks, the properties, the holdings, all of it to senior members, distributed, legal where possible. Choi stared at him. You're walking away, he said, from everything. Yes. For a woman and a child you've known for weeks. Seo Jin looked at him. For myself, he said. The woman and the child are the reason I found out what I wanted. He left. Choi sat in the room for a long time. He left Seoul by Friday. The dissolution of the Kang network took 4 months. It was not clean. Nothing like that is. There were meetings, agreements, transfers, some confrontations that Dong-soo managed with a precision Seo Jin relied on. 3 legal entities were dissolved. 2 were restructured into legitimate companies with new management. A foundation, Kang Family Foundation, though the family it served was newly defined, was established to manage a housing fund for single-parent households in Incheon and Mapo. Mirai found out about that last part by accident, reading a news item on her phone in the kitchen. She looked up. Seo Jin was helping Leah build something with wooden blocks on the kitchen floor. A whale, apparently, though it was very abstract. Mirai looked back at her phone. She did not say anything. She made tea and put his cup on the counter where he could reach it. That was its own kind of answer. Dong-soo came one final time, in the 3rd month, with a decision for Seo Jin to make. Oh Yerin's brother had, in fact, been consumed by his own family's response to the documentation. But Yerin herself, who had known nothing of her brother's scheme, who had simply been presented at a dinner and used as a piece in a plan she hadn't designed, had sent a quiet message through an intermediary. She wanted it known that she bore no ill will. Dong-soo read the message aloud. Seo Jin listened. She's not a threat, Dong-soo said. No, Seo Jin agreed. She never was. What would you like me to tell her? Seo Jin thought about a young woman who had sat across from him at a dinner and said all the prepared things and been dismissed without blame. Tell her I hope she finds someone who sees her, he said. Tell her that's the correct outcome. Tell her it from me, plainly. Dong-soo made a note. He looked up. That's the last one, he said. That's all of it. Yes, Seo Jin said. Dong-soo looked at him for a moment. I've worked for you for 9 years, he said. I know. I've watched 40 things I wish I hadn't. I know that, too. For what it's worth, Dong-soo paused, which was rare. This is better. Seo Jin looked at his aide. Stay, he said. If you want, there's a foundation that needs someone who notices everything and rarely speaks at the wrong moment. Dongsu considered this for 3 seconds. What does it pay? Less than before. I'll think about it, he said. He took the position the following week. On a Saturday in late April, Seo-jin took Leah to the Seoul Aquarium. Mirai came. She walked beside him through the slow blue dark of the main hall, and Leah ran from tank to tank with her face pressed to the glass until she fogged it up. At the whale shark tank, Leah stopped. She stood very still, looking at the enormous pale shape moving through the deep-lit water. "Appa?" she said. It was the first time. She didn't even look at him when she said it. She was too busy watching the whale shark. "Yes," he said. His voice was even. His face was not. He was looking at the tank, but he could feel Mirai beside him, and he felt her hand find his in the dark of the hall, briefly, and hold it. "It's really real," Leah said about the whale. "It is," Seo-jin said. He was not only talking about the whale. There was a moment, later that evening, walking back from the subway stop on their street now, the lease signed on a 4th-floor apartment in Mappo that had a room with enough wall space for ocean posters, when Seo-jin stopped. Mirai stopped too. Leah had fallen asleep against his shoulder. He was carrying her, the full weight of a 5-year-old daughter who called him Appa. Mirai looked at him. "What is it?" she said. He had been thinking about the singing, about the laundry room and the cracked door and the warm light and the voice that sounded like something that was already gone when he first heard it, like a thing you recognize before you understand it. "I heard you singing," he said, "the first week, in the laundry room, an old song." She looked at him. "You heard that?" "Yes." "That's embarrassing." "It isn't," he said. He stopped. He tried to say the right thing, which he was not practiced at. It was the first time in a long time that something sounded true. Mirai was quiet. She looked at him in the streetlight and at Leah asleep on his shoulder. "It's an old song my grandmother used to sing," she said. "I only sing it when I'm not thinking." "I know," he said. "That's why." She held his gaze. "Don't make it something huge," she said. "Just carry her upstairs." He nodded. He carried her upstairs. Time passed, the way time passes when it is ordinary and steady. Seasons, small arguments resolved, grocery runs, meals. Leah turned 6, then 7. On her 7th birthday, she stood on a stool in the kitchen and supervised Seo-jin making her birthday cake, which was decorated with a fondant whale because she had requested it specifically, and he had practiced the shape twice in the preceding week when she was at school. "That's a very good whale," she said critically, "but his tail is too small." "I know, I couldn't fix it. You should have practiced more." "I practiced twice. 3 times would have been better." "Noted," he said. Mirai stood in the doorway, watching. She was thinking about a laundry room, a song she'd been singing to herself to keep the loneliness from getting too loud. She was thinking about a cracked door and a man standing in a corridor, and how she hadn't known he was there, and how it had changed everything anyway. Not the being heard, but the fact that he had stood still and listened. She had known men who couldn't stand still. She looked at him now, adjusting the whale's tail with a small spatula, and taking direction from a 7-year-old with complete seriousness. She thought, this is the version of him that was always underneath. She had not been looking for him. She had just sung in an empty room. On a Saturday morning the following spring, Dong-soo appeared at the apartment door with a folder. The Foundation's first annual report. 41 households in Mappo and Incheon had received housing assistance. 7 single mothers had received employment placement. 3 children had received educational sponsorships. Seo-jin read it at the kitchen table. Leah climbed into the chair beside him and looked at the papers. "What's that?" she said. "Things we did," he said. "Good things?" He thought about everything the Foundation had been built from. The empire it replaced. The years inside it. The cost of all of it, counted honestly. Working on it, he said. She accepted that, because she was 7, and she trusted him. He folded the report and set it aside and made her breakfast. The whale cake was long gone, but she was already planning the one for next year. It would be bigger, she had decided, with a proper tail. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. This one meant a lot to write. A man who finally hears something real, because for one moment someone wasn't performing for him. I want to ask you something in the comments. What was the moment that got you? Was it Mirai saying she stayed because she wanted to give her daughter an answer someday? Was it Leah at the aquarium saying Appa while watching the whale? Or the cake with the crooked tail? Tell me below. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. There are more stories on the way, people finding each other at exactly the wrong time, which somehow becomes exactly